Hello there, and welcome to Hoops, Helmets, and Heels, episode 11. This is Rachel the Dime Diva. Are you ready to talk some sports? Today, I wanted to do a recap of my favorite moments of the NBA Conference Finals. We had a matchup between the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers for the Eastern Conference Finals. And then we had a matchup between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves for the Western Conference Finals. And there was a lot of good entertainment. The basketball was relatively high quality for both series. And I felt like there was a good amount of news stories that we could cover in order to get us ready for the finals, which start tomorrow, and I'm super excited about that. So let's go and come along for a ride with me. So let's first talk about the Knicks and the Pacers. The Eastern Conference Finals went to 6 games. The Indiana Pacers won the series 4-2. And the first thing that I want to talk about in this series is Celebrity Row for both the Pacers and the Knicks. Now, we would expect that the Knicks would have a lot of celebrities present for their games because they are in Manhattan, they're in New York City, and they're known for the Madison Square Garden being the mecca of basketball and a place where a lot of celebrities like to attend. There was a plethora of celebrities that came out for the Eastern Conference Finals because this was the Knicks' first conference finals in 25 years. So the celebrities were out in droves. The Hollywood Reporter, a magazine and online news publication, helped me a lot with keeping track of who these different celebrities were. And so let's go through the list together. Number 1, Spike Lee. We know that Spike is a big time Knicks fan and he's constantly at the Garden. He likes to spend a lot of time courtside and he wears his Knicks gear and he does a lot of trash talking with different players and other celebrities and stuff like that. So he's a fun addition there. Now, number 2, I would say the most notorious and famous fans under Spike Lee, in my opinion, would be Timothy Chalamet and Kylie Jenner. Timothy Chalamet is an actor. He has recently played Bob Dylan in a biopic, and he's known for multiple different award-winning and very critically acclaimed movie roles. Kylie Jenner is a member of the famed Kardashian family. We've talked about her on here before. She has a lot of connections to the sports and music world, and she and Timothy are currently dating. And Kylie and Timothy made a big splash starting in the second round of the playoffs, attending Knicks home games, and then they went on to attend some games in the conference finals. And there was one really iconic meme that was created for Kylie and Timothy in Game 5 of the Knicks Pacers series when they were on Celebrity Row. And it was of Kylie looking at Timothy very lovingly and gazing at him like... And people made memes like showing Timothy like my iced coffee and then me, like different things. They would use the viewpoint of Kylie swooning over Timothy to show different things that we swoon over as women. Most of them not being men, but being like Bravo shows or food or Pilates or whatever things, makeup, whatever things that girls are into. And so that was a cute little meme that was created out of Kylie and Timothy's Game 5 appearance. Additionally, Kylie and Timothy traveled to Indiana for Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And mind you, the Knicks lost the series 4-2. The two games that Kylie and Timothy were present were the two games that they won. The Knicks won. So maybe Timothy and or Kylie or them as a couple is the Knicks' good luck charm. I don't know. But for sure, they made a splash at the Eastern Conference Finals. Ben Stiller was also present at Madison Square Garden, as was Dave Chappelle, who we love. That's one of my favorite comedians. Martha Stewart was present, as was Bill Murray, Tracy Morgan, Miles Teller and his wife, Shaboozey, who's one of my new favorite country artists, and Gayle King, who we know was relatively fresh off of her trip to space. Additionally, one of my fave couples, Russell Wilson and Ciara, were present courtside for the Knicks during the Eastern Conference Finals. Also, the Pacers had their own fair share of celebrities out and about at their home court. 50 Cent was a surprising Indiana seeming supporter who took pictures courtside with Indiana's #1 star player, Tyrese Halliburton. And when he posted those pictures online, 50 Cent, there was some chatter because people were thinking, is he supporting the Pacers although he's born and raised in New York City? Why isn't he supporting the Knicks? Well, one thing that we know about 50 is that he likes controversy and that he likes to be the talk of conversation and he likes to stir up drama. So whether or not he was actually there to support the Knicks or the Pacers, we don't know, but he got his name out there. And that's one thing that 50 is really good at. Caitlin Clark was also courtside for the Pacers in Game 6 with her Indiana Fever teammates, Aaliyah Boston and Lexi Hull. So they played for the WNBA's Indiana team, and they were going to support their male counterparts. Pat McAfee was also in attendance in Indiana for supporting them against the Knicks. He's a former NFL player, and he's an ESPN personality. And Rock and Roll Hall of Famer John Mellencamp also made some headlines for his appearance at the Pacers game, mostly for comments that he made, where he apologized for the Knicks fans being roasted, booed, and given a hard time by Indiana fans, saying that the Indiana fans were not displaying the Hoosier hospitality that they should. Now, this is interesting just because they're in enemy territory, so you would expect that they would get booed or roasted, right? It's not their home crowd. And so I think some people took umbrage with John Mellencamp saying that, and they wanted the Indiana fans to be showing out the way that the New York fans do and getting that activity and, extra team spirit going. So there was a little controversy around that. Now, Game 4 in Indiana, I want to say, was the most spicy in terms of the Indiana attendance, just because of two notable fans in the crowd. First was Triple H, who was a WWE wrestling personality. And the second was John Halliburton, who was Tyrese Halliburton's dad. Now, this is one of my favorite stories of the playoffs thus far. Hands down is the saga of John Halliburton. So this is what went down. So it all began on the first round of the playoffs when the Indiana Pacers were playing the Milwaukee Bucks. The last game of that series was a huge matchup. It was very cinematic. It was back and forth. It was tense, and the game ended up ending on a game-winning layup by Tyrese Halliburton. So it was like a nail biter. He hit the layup at the very last minute, and the teams have been going back and forth. I believe the game went to overtime. There was a lot going on. Okay, so John Halliburton, Tyrese Halliburton's dad, was on the court after the win, celebrating. So Giannis goes up to Tyrese and is, dapping him up. They're being very sportsmanlike, very collegial with each other. And then Giannis walks over to Tyrese Halliburton's dad, John. And then in a press conference afterwards, Giannis said that he did not know who Tyrese Halliburton's dad was. He just thought he was a fan. So he was trying to be nice to the fan, just be cordial. And Tyrese Halliburton's dad showed Giannis a towel that had Tyrese's face on it, so his son's face, and said, "This is what we do. This is what we effing do." Like, just talking a lot of trash, and in Giannis's estimation, being disrespectful. So Giannis got back into John Halliburton's face and was kind of bucking up on him and like, "Hey, what's the deal?" They ended up getting separated. And afterwards, John Halliburton apologized on his social media. Tyrese spoke at the press conference and said that his dad's actions were not appropriate. And he was banned. John Halliburton was banned from attending future games by the Indiana Pacers. So this is not the first time we've heard on Hoops, Helmets, and Heels about dads getting a little hype and being banned, right? We already know that John Morant's dad had this same situation happening. And in my opinion, I don't think that these dads need to be getting all up in arms as if they're in the game themselves. I think that if the dad cannot resist talking trash, he needs to go sit up in a box in one of the suites, not courtside. And I think that I believe Giannis that he did not know who John Halliburton was. I don't see why he would know who Tyrese's dad was. And I think even if, regardless if he had been a fan, if he had been a family member, I don't think it's necessary to talk trash and be disrespectful to a man that's actually playing in the game when you're not actually playing. To me, that's kind of lame because you didn't win the game. Your son did. So if Tyrese wants to talk trash, great. But John, you don't have any place doing that. Now, John did make his appearance. He was reinstated to attend games again in Game 4 at Indiana. He went to a couple of games, and there was no incidents, and he was sitting in a suite. So he just recently stated today that he would be attending the finals, which start tomorrow. So we'll keep an eye out to see how his behavior is doing as the finals progress. Now, something cute to end off the recap of the Pacers-Knicks series is that both teams engaged in iconic throwback celebrations. So Tyrese Halliburton, who was the star of the series, he is now emerging as an NBA superstar. He hit the game-tying two-pointer at the end of Game 1. So this was a game that the Pacers and Knicks played. It ended up going to overtime, and Tyrese Halliburton hit this last-second shot to send the game into overtime. He later stated that he thought this was a game-winning three. So he thought he had a three-pointer to completely close out the game, but instead it was a game-tying two. And Indiana did go on to win the series. So the celebration that Tyrese Halliburton did was the iconic Reggie Miller choke celebration. So it's holding the hands around the neck to choke, and then it's like a choke job, like showing it's a choke job. So this is iconic for a couple reasons when Halliburton hit this. Number one, Reggie Miller was in the crowd. I believe that Reggie Miller was calling the game for TNT, and he and Tyrese Halliburton, apparently locked eyes and, kind of like had a moment of, camaraderie. Tyrese and Reggie Miller know each other and do communicate regularly because Reggie used to be a Pacer. and he supports the Pacers organization to this day, which I think is amazing. And it was also iconic because this is a playoff game against the New York Knicks. So when Reggie Miller coined this celebration, he was in the thick of a rivalry with the New York Knicks. So it was the Pacers and Knicks in the 1990s. And they had a lot of playoff battles, and there was just a lot of bad blood between the teams. It was similar to like the Lakers and the Celtics in the 80s. And maybe again in like the 2000s, when Paul Pierce and Kobe were going back and forth. So that's what made it iconic, because he was throwing it back. So he definitely had it in his mind. He was waiting for the right moment. And then to hit a game-winning 3, that was the perfect opportunity. And in this case, it ended up being a game-tying 2. Still, I think it was a good use of the celly, and ultimately even more, it was even more prestigious because the Pacers won. So if they hadn't won the game and they hadn't won the series, I don't think it would have meant as much. But now that they did, I think it means a lot. Now, another celly that happened, I don't think it caused controversy. It caused a lot of Twitter banter, but this individual does get a lot of Twitter banter anyways. And this was Karl Anthony Towns. He hit the LeBron shoulder shrug in the fourth quarter of a playoff game when he had hit a layup and had an and one opportunity. Now, people always make fun of Karl Anthony Towns because they feel like his mannerisms are a little bit more effeminate or not as tough guy. But I say, you know what? The man is a millionaire. He's one of the best players in the league. He's been an all-star. He was in the conference finals. So if men want to make fun of him for his mannerisms, go ahead. But he's doing better in life than all of you who are making fun of him. And he has a beautiful girlfriend. So I don't know what to say other than let the man live. He's going to do his thing. Now, was the celebration funny? It was funny. So I would definitely go and search for Karl Anthony Towns shoulder shrug celebration. Now, this shoulder shrug is a iconic LeBron celebration. And it's where he goes he kind of hits this shrug action with his shoulders after doing a play I'm gonna Hulk out type of thing. Okay. So you can see how I hit it. It looks very silly. So when LeBron does it, I think it kind of looks cool. I feel like if anybody else does it, it could look silly. But again, it's not about silly or cool. He wants to hit a celebration, let him hit it. You hit the shot, you have an and one opportunity. Celebrate as much as you want to, Karl Anthony Towns. And I will say as well, another note for this series is that Jordyn Woods, who is Karl Anthony Towns' girlfriend, has been looking fabulous courtside during the whole playoffs. She is a perennial top, I would say 5 WAG, wives and girlfriends of the players, just in terms of being on it, being fine, having her outfits be team logo, team colors, but not looking costumish. I don't know. I mean, Ayesha Curry is up there for me. Draymond Green's wife is up there for me. I like PJ Washington's wife as well. But Jordyn Woods might be my number 1 WAG. That girl is fire. All right, well, now that we've recapped the Knicks and Pacers, let's go to OKC and Minnesota. So this one to me has a little bit less big moments just because, first of all, New York is going to bring a lot of notoriety to the game. And also the series was shorter. The Minnesota Timberwolves only won 1 game. Oklahoma City won 4. So it just wasn't as much action going on in the series per se. However, I would love to shout out Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We talked about him previously in the playoff recap episode where we went over the first round of the NBA playoffs. So if you want to go back and check out that episode, please do. I delve a little bit into SGA's background and why I think that he would make a great candidate for the new face of the NBA once LeBron retires. So SGA won MVP this year. So we're so proud of him. And he got his trophy before game 2 of the Western Conference Finals. So as the league MVP, they get their trophy before the conference finals game, but they also have like a separate ceremony where they receive the trophy and get to make a speech, etc. So at that ceremony, SGA made a really heartfelt speech where he shouted out his wife, Haley Summers. And we have talked about Haley before on Hoops, Helmets, and Heels. She's really a great wag as well. She is a former college athlete, soccer player, University of Albany, and they have a son named Aries. So he gave her a really cute shout out where he said, quote, "You were the first person to show me what love really meant." I thought that was really precious and really heartfelt. So congratulations to them, wishing them all the best as a couple, and rooting for SGA in the conference finals, or I'm sorry, in the NBA finals. I personally would love to see Indiana win the NBA finals, just because I think their team is pretty dynamic, and I have a little bit more spirit rooting for them, but I would be fine with Oklahoma City winning as well. Another notable tidbit for the conference finals for the OKC Minnesota matchup is that Anthony Edwards surpassed Kevin Garnett as the all-time leader in playoff points for the Timberwolves with 1,130 points. This is after only 5 seasons in the NBA and only 4 times being in the playoffs. So it's really, really impressive. And I know we do roast Ant a bit on Hoops, Helmets, and Heels just because he's such a entertaining character, but this is a big deal and I'm super proud of him. However, I do have to just say as a messy side note that during the second round of the playoffs, which we did not cover, so I didn't get to share this on the show, he did file a lawsuit against his baby mom, Ayesha Howard, who we talked about on the NBA Bad Boys episode. And he sued her for allegedly staking out his house, trying to serve him with paperwork, and doing all this, disrupting his preparation for the NBA playoffs. So it's possible that any bad performance that he had in the Western Conference Finals or in the second round of the playoffs, he could be blaming on Ayesha Howard, the mom of their young daughter, Aubrey Summers. Unfortunately, that saga continues, and we hope that there is resolution there and that Ant does learn to, move a little bit responsibly when it comes to bringing children into this world. All right, well, that's all we have for episode 11 of Hoops, Helmets, and Heels. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.